Well, hi folks, this is Darren and Tricia with My RV Works, and a question that I get a lot of times when I'm out in the field with customers, they're looking at maybe buying an RV or wanting to upgrade an RV or change the RV. So it's not uncommon for me to get a question from a customer or just from people that just know this is what we do. Well, what kind of RV should I get? Or who's the best RV and all this kind of stuff. And there's really, you have to unpack that question. There's a lot to that question. And it begins with your end in mind. What are you going to do with it? What's your budget? You know, a person that's going to buy this to go camping a couple times a year and the rest of the time it's in storage. Maybe you need an RV to put in your backyard. Kids are coming back from college. Mom's not feeling too well. Maybe you're getting an RV to put on a lot because you're going to build a house. Maybe you need to buy an RV and you're going to rent them out. Maybe you're going to go full timing. So you see how one size doesn't fit all, and you have to unpack that question. So normally when I get that question, I do take a few minutes and ask some questions like, well, we need to go through a whole series of questions we're going to do with it. If you're going to boondock off grid, that's a very different type of an RV than if it's going to be connected to shore power all the time. So Sid and Tricia have recently made a purchase. And we felt it was really great to go through that process, go through that Q&A, and try to get into the mind of a brand new RV owner who, I think, before you came to work for us, you didn't even know how to spell RV. They have a lot of RVs on Guam, you know. And so Tricia, let me punt this over to you. Talk about some of the process that you went through, that you and Sid went through to even consider an RV, and then what your end in mind looked like as you were navigating some of these questions. So talk us through some of how that went for you guys.
Okay, yeah. So the first, when we were first thinking about getting an RV, you know, we were looking at maybe just doing some recreational traveling. Okay. And we had talked with you about, you know, different types of RVs and... Class
A diesel pusher is the way to go. Yeah. Washer, dryer, dishwasher, radiant heat flooring. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was one of the questions was, you know, what do you want to do with it? Mm-hmm. And we were just really so overwhelmed with the number of options, and we really didn't know what we wanted. So we thought maybe at some point we might look at some, but we... as we started to get into it and just look at Class B, Class C, and think about what would we want, do we want a tow, you know, all these different things, really the big thing for us was the cost, and we really thought it would be out of our price range. And so we kind of shelved the idea, thinking, you know, we're going to have to take a loan. We don't really want to do that. I know just from working in the RV business that you're not looking at something that you are going to have a one-time expense on, you know, whether it's maintenance or repair, you're going to have work to do on it every single year. And so I definitely wanted something that was in a price range that we could buy it outright and that we would still have money that we could put into it. So we kind of shelved the idea and thought maybe, you know, if we went to some of those trade shows like we had talked about going, maybe we could check them out and get a better idea of what we might like.
And trade shows are good. I always joke with people like leave your checkbook at home, but sometimes there's really good deals to be had there. I know when Ann and I, going way, way back, we went to a trade show not knowing what to expect. And we walked in all kinds of RVs and looked at the floor plans. This would have been in early 2000. And it opened our eyes to just the plethora of options in floor plans and how to get from point A to point B. But yeah. So trade shows are great just to do some research, some homework.
Yeah. But yeah. And just to put it into context, so we're not just first-time RV buyers. We're like first-time RV everything. You know, we've never... I mean, I think one time in high school, I went on a camping trip and somebody that we went with had an RV. So I was, you know, in the RV for that reason. But I've never stayed in an RV, never traveled with an RV. And so we're totally brand new. And honestly, the options were overwhelming. Even the thought of going to a trade show, as helpful as it might be to check out all the different things, like you don't really know what you want as somebody who's never even gone in an RV. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we did, we shelved that idea and thought, oh, it's just out of our price range, you know. Darren and Ann have RVs, we'll just use theirs.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
And then we went camping. And you guys had the pop-up camper.
My beloved Zippy. What's your name?
And we
pop-up
stayed
camper.
in that. And at the end of that, Sid was like, this was actually a really cool, we were so surprised at how big it got.
It's the size of a
Just this
sardine.
little teeny,
A sedan could tow the thing. And then it opens up to this king-size bed, queen-size bed. The dinette slides out. It's got a bathroom inside of it, a kitchen. In a pop-up? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And so it was kind of like, we never considered this. Like, this actually could work. And so then it was sort of just an idea that maybe wasn't being actively pursued, but it was kind of there. And
a seed was planted.
Yeah. And not too long after that, I was just on the buy-sell trade for whatever reason, and it just popped up in the feed, this camper that was, for sale, pop-up camper for $2,500. And I thought, wow, like this could actually fit in our price range. Even when we were talking about, when Sid said, what do you think? And like, would you want to, maybe buy a pop-up camper? I still didn't know what that would mean financially. So when I saw that pop up, I was like, whoa, like we could actually afford that. And so that kind of got us on the journey. And so I think, as a first-time RV buyer, really,
first-time RV everything.
Really consider like how familiar are you with RVing. If you're experienced and you just haven't owned an RV, or maybe you have in the past and now you're looking for a new one, maybe you kind of have an idea of what kind of systems you're familiar with, what you're getting yourself into. But if you've never been an RV owner, or if you are not super experienced, like for us, it was really important to not get in too deep and to not start off with, bite off more than we can chew. And so I think that's a really good thing to think about as you are going to make a purchasing decision, is like, how familiar are you with RVing, with RVs? How experienced are you? Another important factor for us was a budget. So that was just a really big priority. It was not something that was like necessarily on our top like goals list. And so we're fine with purchasing an RV if it didn't cost us a lot, if we didn't have to take a loan out, if we could just buy it with the money that we have saved, and it wouldn't, like we would still have money left over
to enjoy the RV.
Yeah. And so
or the whole RVing life, camping and things.
So think about, and then like you said, what are you going to do with the RV? For us, it was just recreation. And so it wasn't something that we were looking at maybe making an investment where we're going to get money back on. It was just something that we would be doing recreationally a couple of times a year. And so that played into how much we're willing to invest in it. So, so those were some factors that we considered and that I think are really helpful going into the purchasing decision, to make sure that you get into something that is going to work and not be overwhelming, and that you're not going to be stuck with like a money, I don't want to say a money pit, but you're not going to be borrowing money that you can't pay back, and you're not going to be borrowing money and then you have all this work that needs to be done, and oh gosh, I didn't realize I was going to be making a monthly payment and having all of these costs associated with it.
One of the things in storage for half the year.
Yeah, and that's not to say you couldn't do that, but just make sure that's something that's a priority and that you're not biting off more than you can chew. Yeah. And
gas prices fluctuating as they are. What does that look like for any kind of vacation you might want to take, traveling across a state or different states? And so you have all this debt that you've accrued, and something that is, you're looking, every time you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a payment.
Yeah, and I think because we have had people that reach out and they are overwhelmed with their RVs, and they went to not a car lot, but they went to like a dealership, and they were sold this really great RV that had all these bells and whistles, and they were just, oh man, it's so cool. They get it off the lot. They barely had any instruction on how to use it. They're totally overwhelmed. They have no idea what to do. And then, that's one scenario. And then even worse sometimes is then the RV starts falling apart, and they're like, I didn't realize it was so much maintenance to keep an RV. And so thankfully, you know, being in this business now, it's like you see those things coming through, and you know, I think that would be, you know, for those people who are not super familiar with RVs, I would love it if they would, if this message would be like come across, which is that your RV is going to need a lot of work. Whether it's brand new, whether it's used, it's going to need maintenance, it's going to need repair. There's a lot that goes into an RV, and so it's just such an important consideration to make.
So more than just what's the thing cost, it's the cost of ownership beyond debt service, beyond storage.
Yeah.
That RV sitting for 6 months out of the year is going to accrue, you know, cost in maintenance. If you live in it full time, it's going to accrue cost in maintenance. So yeah, these things are expensive, and so go in with eyes wide open, and I think you guys did on yours.
Yeah.
So you found this RV. Was it the only one you were considering, or were there several others that you looked at?
You know, it popped up in the feed, and it was in our price range, and we kind of were like, as long as it checks out,
okay,
we're pretty set on, you know, as long as when we get there we like what we see, and then as long as, you know, you give it the go ahead. So that was something, obviously we have access to, you know, inspection for free.
Yes.
That's not going to be most...
It's a business perk.
Yeah.
An employee perk, yeah.
So I think, you know, had I gone into it without that, there may have been... so I think I would have gotten it inspected either way, but I think what kind of inspection would have been different if I was paying versus getting it for free. So we had Darren come and inspect it, and he did, you know, a pretty thorough... Well, we've got the... Well, I guess we didn't video the actual inspection.
When it was in the guy's backyard, we just kind of, everybody was on lunch, and I kind of went through this thing in about an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of briefly checked out. It didn't have any systems.
Major systems check, which there weren't any systems in
and
it.
we knew that going in, so, and at the price point, we figured it's okay if it doesn't have systems. We kind of want to add those in as we want to anyways. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves, so we want to start small and then we can work our way up. Obviously making sure that it has the size and the ability to put those systems in. But so we had Darren come out, and he did that, you know, 1 hour kind of check everything out inspection. Had we not had access to a free inspection, I think what I would have done was, if I was paying somebody, I would have paid somebody just to look at the integrity of the RV, just make sure that it's got good bones, or at least to know what kind of cost am I going to have to put into it. So when we're making that decision, we can talk about that too, because like purchasing, as you're getting that inspection done, you can use that to some degree to negotiate.
Did you guys do that?
A little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Because we found some rot. So there were some rot spots in it. The tires were original, and the unit was 30 years old.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very old RV.
Yeah.
And it needed tires. The battery, the guy said it was a new battery, but it turns out that the battery was, I'd give it a B. We found some issues with the blinkers on the lights. There were no systems to speak of in it. It had no furnace, had no water heater. The bathroom had been taken out. There was no air conditioner. There's a battery charger and a breaker box. And one of the receptacles on the outside has an open ground to it. So you knew this going in that 1 hour that I spent going up and down. But the cranking mechanism that makes it go up and down was sound. The floor was sound. The frame was sound. So with some new tires, a breakaway cable, this thing could be put on the road again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think if we had to pay somebody, we would have just made sure that they checked out that the bones of the system, made sure that it's good. And then from there, I think we would have been okay, you know, even if it had systems at $2,500, I wouldn't really be too concerned. I'm figuring I'm going to have to put some things into this. So again, this is the price point of $2,500. So my investment on an inspection is going to be pretty low. Having said that, if I, you know, was looking at spending more, I probably would have a more thorough inspection. But you know, I just kind of figure at $2,500, I figure I'm going to have to put money into it. But as long as it's got a good bones, then you know we can just do whatever we need to do with it. And so We did negotiate the price a little bit. We probably could have negotiated it more, but we just decided we really like it. We're at peace with, you know, investing the money that we need to because we have free labor.
Yeah, Jesus, I'm all sliced up here.
Yeah.
But the canvas was good. The floor was good. There was a few rot spots on the roof, all easy to fix. Go get a sheet of Luan, fix it. There were no systems to speak of. The RV never even had a furnace, and he had taken out the water heater. And so, but we looked that you'll lose one of your cabinets, but we can install a furnace in there if you choose.
That's probably the other thing I would have. So we knew for sure we wanted a water heater, a furnace, and we figured, you know, a refrigerator. We ended up, there's not really space for that. I mean,
it wouldn't
so
work.
We're just going to do like a 12 volt, like
ice chesty kind. Yeah.
But I probably, if I was paying somebody, that would be the other thing. So the bones and the integrity of the vehicle,
the cranky up, cranky down, slide out, slide in with the beds.
And then just double checking, like, these are the systems we want. Can we put them in there? You know, and then so when it came time to purchase the vehicle, I would say even if we might have negotiated a little more if we knew our costs were going to include labor.
Okay.
But I don't think it would have changed our minds on the RV. Like, we were pretty sold on that regardless of the investment, just knowing what we wanted to put into it and feeling like even if we had to pay somebody to do the labor, it still would be worth it to do that. And so we did negotiate the price to some degree. We kind of took some of your recommendations and we kind of had a starting point. Okay, so $2,500, you know, we would like to see this, and this, like, you know, rot damage, not as much, or, you know, systems, maybe instead of no systems, or, you know, so we kind of took that starting value of the asking price and negotiated from that, like, well, it's missing this, you know, this is in disrepair, this needs to be done. And don't forget, we have the PDI inspection list. So even if you're not an RV technician, you can still take that PDI checklist that we have on our website and you can go through yourself and start marking some stuff up. And then basically, we just negotiated from that, saying, okay, you know, we would pay this amount based off of these findings. Obviously, we're not by no means experts. And, you know, we don't have, like, it's not necessarily a thing where you have an agent that's going to say, like, really negotiate your price for you. But we gave him a number. I think we started at $2,500 was the asking price. And I think we said $1,500. And then he said $2,200 and we said $2,000. And, you know, I think from there, it's really a matter of, are you comfortable with that? I mean, I think, you know, for us at that point, negotiating it any further, we felt like we could afford it. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew what it was going to need. We calculated the cost of the investment, what it would cost at the end of it all, and we were comfortable with that price. Okay. And so we could have negotiated it further. We could have said, okay, you know, find another buyer if you need to, because we're not willing to pay this amount, and we could have just kept hunting if we wanted to, you know. But that's kind of how that went. And I think, you know, just starting off at the asking price and showing your findings can help you, just like you said. I mean, by no means, like I said, we've never done that before, you know. Even in a car lot, we're not like necessarily super, you know, we usually just buy from like an individual owner and find a good price and negotiate a little bit, but we're not hagglers. But you could be, you know. And so, that was kind of how we got to that price point. Okay.
So going back to the first, the beginning, begin with your end in mind. How did this check all your end in mind boxes? It fit your budget. It's going to allow you to recreate. It's not going to break the bank. And then as you feel comfortable, we'll add more features to it. And you know what features can and can't go into it. And we've started a playlist. Poppy's playlist, because you gave it a name. Poppy. So on our playlist, it's under Poppy's playlist. So we're as I work on it, we make a video out of it, and you guys get to see us build more of Poppy. And you know, I just thought another way, if you're brand new, I know a lot of our subscribers
are kind of in the RVing world already. But if you are brand new, another thing is Airbnb has tons of like,
try them out.
Yeah. So just, you know, if you want to see what it's like to be in this type of RV versus that, or even if you just like, you're not sure if you like RVing at all, you know, that's a pretty low cost investment.
Spend a couple nights in one and then see if you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wind blows, the things move. I remember when we were in Texas, we were living in an RV, and they were doing some fracking in Oklahoma, and that would trigger a couple earthquakes in that area. And people would wake up the next morning, did you feel that? I'm like, I was in my RV, I thought that was wind blowing. So you don't even know when an earthquake happens. Like, oh, I missed it, you know. But if it were my house, the walls would be shaking. But the RV is always kind of moving, and you get to familiar with the movements of the RV and the wind blowing and all this kind of stuff, even with all the anchors down. But
yeah,
yeah. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Poppy. You've spent a couple nights in her.
Yep.
Okay, and how has that been?
It's been great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've kind of gone through Darren's boot camp a little bit. What I wanted to do, folks, is most of you know I was a Marine, and I'm sure if you're not a Marine, if you are a Marine, you totally relate to boot camp experiences. But if you're not a Marine, I'm sure you've heard stories of boot camp where they're throwing water hoses on you and you're having to jump up and down, all that kind of stuff. So I have this amazing vision of having an RV boot camp, and you're out there trying to set up your pop-up camp around there with a garden hose spraying you, too slow, put it down, pick it back up, and I'm just dousing you with water, simulating a rainstorm. I think that'd be awesome. Get underneath, put your landing jack down, hey, here comes the water. So I didn't have the garden hose, but I did run you through a couple drills. I'm standing off on the side, hands off. Even though I know exactly what needs to happen, I'm letting you guys kind of discover Poppy and what she has, because I'm not always going to be there when you guys are traveling around. Yeah. And so you guys, this most recent time, you guys set it up all by yourself. I actually left the area, and you guys did a great job. Yeah. And so that's the fun thing. That's one of the great things about having a pop-up instead of a hard wall, is because you really are in a boot camp. You know, cranking it up and moving your lever to lock it in place so the thing doesn't slam back down on you.
I don't know if we did that.
That's that lever up by the LP tank.
Okay.
Uh-oh. It didn't slide down, so that was cool. Okay.
I'll ask Sid if he did it.
Yeah. But the little stabilizer jacks kicked out, how they work, and all this kind of stuff. So it's a phenomenal way to fall in love with RVing. It's not breaking the bank. We do have a lot of customers that, like what Tricia was saying, they go look, you know, and the next thing you know, the sales guy is just, or the sales gal, the salesperson, okay, they're so smooth, so slick, and they always talk about payments, and you're like, oh, we could do that, and the next thing you know, you got a triple axle fifth wheel, you got to go buy a new truck, and yeah, we have quite a few customers that are a little bit of a buyer remorse. They were kind of bait and switched or slicked, and that even happened to Ann and I. We went to go look at one RV, and we ended up looking at another RV, and we ended up buying another RV. So the salespeople, there's some really good and ethical ones out there, but there's also ones that just want their quota. You're just another person to come in, and they know how to close a sale, and the Ben Franklin close, and all these different closes. So, but there are ways to do that. That's not here nor there, but this. But the takeaway is, beginning with your end in mind was so important, because it's your compass. It allows you to stay true to what you want this RV to be for you. And I think Poppy does everything you want her to do. She's going to allow you to recreate. She's not going to break your bank. And even if you need to store her for a period of time, there is ways to store RVs, and keep her dry, close her up, and she'll store for a long time. And then when you need her, open her back up, air her out a little bit. So begin with your end in mind. Know what you're going in with. Sit down, if you're a couple, sit down and define what your end in mind looks like, and see if you can find that. And so when you go shopping for an RV, new or used, you stay true to that end in mind. You stay true to what success looks like to you, having an RV in your life. So staying true to your end in mind, what success looks like to you. You and Sid did that. And I think that Poppy, I had to think of the name. Poppy is going to be wonderful. And the cool thing about Poppy is on our playlist, Poppy's playlist. Is that what we're going to call it?
Yeah, I think so.
We've got some videos coming out on her. And every time I get a chance to work on it, I'm doing it for free. So I got to do it in the spare times, you know. But it's a passion. I love my employees. I love working on stuff like this. And it allows me to do things on RVs that I normally would not do at the you know, the shop rate price, because it just wouldn't make sense. But I like working on rot work.
So watch the videos, like and subscribe, share them with your friends.
Yes.
And, you know, give my RV Works some money so he can earn some money for what he's doing.
I got to buy tools. Yeah, because I'm working for free for these people. Come on. I got to buy tools and everything. And, but yeah, I think Poppy's going to be cool. We're going to put some, we're going to do a lift kit on her and some ground effect lighting.
No, we're not.
Big old tires. And big old roof rack, 15,000 BTU air conditioner up on the roof. Yeah, on-demand water heater.
No.
No, we're not doing that? Okay. We'll probably put a small little furnace on her pretty soon.
Yep.
We just did a breakaway because it needed a breakaway. All that wiring up on the trunk was a mess. Later on, the rot has nothing to do with its ability to, it's just a couple door seals were rotten. But anyway, yeah, so folks, just enjoy learning about Poppy. And just go in with eyes wide open. Be true to yourself. Define your end in mind. Define what success looks like you to have an RV in your yard, in your life. Understand that it is a net negative financial. There's no, unless you're going to buy an RV and start a business and rent these things out. But even still, we've got customers that they hire us to do what we call a fleet service, where we are helping them maintain their fleet. Those RVs are road hard and put away wet. The people that are renting them, they don't own them, and so. It's a net negative, but there's ways to make it all work. So if that's what success looks like to you, then go for it. So anyway, I'm happy for you and Sid. It looks like you checked all the boxes. You defined what success looks like, and you have a Poppy out of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Thanks. If this added value, thumb it up. Share it with your friends, like what Tricia was saying. And so we'll see you on the next video.
All right. See
all right,
you
guys.
then.
All right. Bye, guys.